What's going on, everybody? This is Brian Mazik, aka Unique Mazik, and we are here talking Chicago Bears victory. It was not it was not a pretty victory. It was one of those games where you could easily say, and you wouldn't be wrong to say, they deserve to lose this game. But they didn't. And you got to take the victories as they come. So for anybody that missed it, Bears pull out the victory 25-24 over the Las Vegas Raiders on the road. I think it's a huge win for the Bears for obvious reasons, but even more so, you get back to 500. And if you look at the schedule, you want to have this like kind of going into, what looks like a, like, you obviously you get the bye week, but then you have a tougher game coming up. Well, could be tougher on the road against Washington. So going into the bye week 2-2 to me feels a lot better. If I am, you definitely don't want to be going into this bye week 1-3, already in a tough division. So it's a good win nonetheless, because all wins are good. But this one definitely has some tough points where let's just talk about, let's look at the stats and go through that for a second, because I think there's obviously some things to unpack when you look at this whole thing statistically. All right, now let's see if we can get this up here. So you guys, I want to know, you can say it in the comments or what have you. What do you think? I'm going to share what I think, but what do you think was the standout moment, or not moment, the standout performer from today's game? I definitely already have my guy, but I want to know what you guys think, because I feel like there was one person specifically who really stood out today. And actually, we'll go into the stats a little bit after this, but there's one person today that I really thought really stood out. And for me, he was the MVP of the performance for today. I felt like Byard was just absolutely amazing, y'all. This is easily, in my opinion, this is his best game as a Bear. I thought there were times last year that I was a little bit underwhelmed with his performance. But today I thought he had Geno's number like crazy. I mean, the Bears forced Geno into 3 interceptions. Byard had 2 of them. It was just a big time performance. And it wasn't just the picks. If you saw Byard, some plays he made against the run, there was a big physical hit against Ashton Jeanty. Ashton Jeanty was amazing today, though. And then there was the hit that set up the field goal attempt that we blocked at the end. The tackle that was made there, Byard made that tackle as well. So for me, he was unquestionably the most valuable player on the game on the day today. There was people obviously who had some good games. Caleb was solid today. He wasn't great, but he was solid. Roman Dunze came alive in the second half. Tyreek had another strong game, so I'm just going to get up off the bash Tyreek train maybe altogether, which I'm happy to do, because it's not like I'm rooting against them, but I had to call it as I was seeing it through the first 2 weeks. But week 3 and week 4, Tyreek has been great, but nobody to me was more significant than Byard. Byard had also 5 solo tackles, 7 total, 1 tackle for a loss, 2 passes defended. He had the 2 picks. So just a fantastic performance for him. Tyreek also had a pick today. So like I said, just a great game, a great little 2-week stretch for Tyreek. But Caleb was 22 of 37 for 212 yards. He had a touchdown and a pick. The pick, I won't say it wasn't his fault, because clearly the Raiders had some read on the trajectory of his passes. He had at least somewhere between, felt like 5 passes batted down into the line of scrimmage. This particular one was in the first quarter, was batted down by Max Crosby, who was amazing all game. He ends up catching it and turning it into an interception. So that was the pick that Caleb threw. The crazy thing of it was, when you looked at the replay, And Adam Archuleta, who was doing color commentary today, he kind of pointed it out. I couldn't see where Caleb was going with the ball anyway. On that particular pass, I thought he might have been about to throw an interception anyway, further down the field into the red zone. So either way, I just thought it was a peculiar kind of a decision, and ended up turning into an interception either way. The run game, we'll talk about that a little bit later. It did have a decent second half, and we ended up pounding it into the end zone to get the what turned out to be the game-winning touchdown with DeAndre Swift on a run out left. But the run game, we'll talk about it. It was 26 rushes for 69 yards and a touchdown. That one touchdown we talked about. Zacchaeus led the team in receptions with 5, but Rome had the most yards with 69, and he also had the touchdown reception. It was a big play there. Caleb did fumble the ball twice, but he recovered it both times. Tyreek ended up recovering a fumble as well, which was the one that was forced by, I believe that was Noah Sewell, who forced a fumble in the first half. He hit Genty in the first half and forced a fumble. Tremaine Edmonds again led with tackles. He had 11, 6 solos. Kevin Byard was right in there with that. We did not sack Geno at all. Couple tackles for a loss, couple guys with a couple passes defended, but we're going to talk about the fact that we didn't sack Geno for sure. And then, like I said, it was Byard with the 2 picks and Tyreek Stevenson with the 1 interception as well. Special teams came up huge from in the form of field goals, and obviously the play at the end. Cairo Santos ended up with the 4 field goals that kept us in the game when the offense was struggling to finish drives. His efficiency and ability to make field goals, the longest one he made today was 52 yards. Kept putting points on the board, kept the Bears in the game, kept them in striking distance until they were able to start to get into the end zone. There was also a huge punt by Torrey Taylor. He pinned them inside the 2-yard line, 62-yard punt. That one turned out pretty big as the Bears were able to capitalize on that and play the field position game, so to speak. So that's that. So now we talked about the most valuable player, which to me was Kevin Byard III. Let's talk about the lip. The least impressive player. We started this last week. Last week, we talked about Nahshon Wright. This week, it's on the other side of the ball. I am so sorry, anybody who truly loves, and let me preface this. I love Cole Kmet, one of my favorite players on the Bears team. Love the way he plays, love the attitude, love it all. He was hot trash today. I just got to tell you, he was hot trash today. Drop passes, a huge drop in the red zone. The Bears ended up having to punt, honestly. They end up, I think, so he drops a pass. I think if he caught it, the Bears on like the 15-yard line, something like that. It would have been a big drive, would have put the Bears up at that point. But he drops the pass. The next 2 plays, there's a sack, and then there's a fumble, ends up turning into a sack. Actually a fumble recovery and a tackle way out of, but pushes them way out of field goal range. Bears wind up having the punt. And then that punt actually ended up being a touchback. Not to mention there were two false start penalties on Kmet. Both of them were drive killers, or at least drive stallers. Without a question, in my opinion, Cole Kmet's the lip. He is the least impressive player today. He's had a lot of solid games for the Bears, and hopefully he'll bounce back. But today was not strong at all. The Bears did not get what they needed from the tight end. Now, from a receiving standpoint, he had 1 or 2 catches. He had 3 catches. 3 catches for 46 yards. That's solid. But everything else was not good at all. Just not good. So let's talk about the 5 best and the 5 worst things that we saw today. My Raiders fan, I see you. I see you coming in, Raiders 7528. I saw you. My next door neighbor across the street from me is actually a Raiders fan. I almost ran across the street and knocked on his door, but I didn't do it. But I'm going to knock. That's me knocking on the door for you. I predicted this, guys, though. If you go back and watch my video of when I predict the Bears' schedule for the rest of the season, I said we was going to go into the bye week 2-2. this is where we are. I knew that I felt that the Dallas and the Raiders games were both very winnable games. I thought, honestly, really want to be truthful, the Bears could have won this game by more. I mean, the Raiders turned the ball over like running water. Geno was terrible throwing the ball today. 3 picks. All of those interceptions, pretty much every one of those interceptions was his fault. The first one, maybe you could argue Jacoby Myers should have kept running, but those 3 interceptions were his fault. He wasn't very good today. They did run the ball very well. So then that always is one of the biggest helps you can have for an offense. But I knew that this would be a winnable game. And I really, honestly, the Bears could have won this game by 2 touchdowns. They really could have if they had capitalized in the first half on the solid field position that they were consistently getting. I mean, I think the Bears had 4 or 5 drives in this game that started inside Raiders territory, and I think they only turned one of them into a touchdown. I think if there's a higher level of efficiency with good field position, I think the Bears win this game by 2 touchdowns. But as it is, a victory is a victory. So let's talk about the 5 best things I saw today. So we're gonna save the bad stuff for later. I'm not even gonna go necessarily in order, right? I'm not even gonna go necessarily in order. I'm just gonna say the 5 things as I jotted them down. Obviously, takeaways. My opinion, takeaways is what kept the Bears in this game. It kept it winnable. Like I mentioned, Kevin Byard earlier, he was phenomenal today. His best game as a Bear, in my opinion. We had the big pick by Tyreek Stevenson. We had a forced fumble by Noah Sewell that was covered by Tyreek. I just feel like this was an absolutely huge game by the secondary. DeMaz, what's going on, my brother? How you feel? Oh, he was the player of the game. Byard was definitely my player of the game. I appreciate you checking in, but he absolutely was my player of the game. So takeaways to me was the first thing, number one thing that I love. Second, even beyond the takeaways, I just thought the secondary put together another decent week of football. Not fantastic. And you also have to understand how undermanned the secondary is right now, right? So they're playing without Jalen Johnson. They're playing without Kyler Gordon, who is the starting nickel cornerback and one of the best starting nickel cornerbacks in the NFL. And we're chopped down. Then I believe McLeod got hurt at some point during the game. So we're down to the 3rd string nickel corner at some point. This was a gutsy performance by an undermanned secondary. And I thought Byard really stepped up as a leader. I thought that Brisker was solid, being physical against the run. And there was a couple missed tackles there out in the flat, but Ashton Jeanty is such a problem to bring down. Sometimes if there's a missed tackle there, I mean, yes, you got to bring the guy down, but that guy is a problem because of that low center of gravity. But I thought secondary overall played pretty solid today. I felt like they turned them and the lack of trust in Geno turned the Raiders into a one-dimensional team the other way, which is run. And then there was some really tight, gotta have it kind of situations, not to borrow a term from Adam Archuleta. There's some gotta have it situations, and I thought in those situations, Bears interior defense was able to stiffen and stop the run and get the stops that they need. But I think that the secondary had a lot to do with that. And I'm not giving any credit to the pass rush because that was non-existent, but we'll get to that in a second. The third thing that I really liked, my third best takeaway, was Cairo Santos, 4 for 4 from field goal range. You got to remember, right? While we were upset, obviously, and justifiably so, we were upset when those drives kept having to settle for field goals. But imagine if Cairo simply misses one of those, the 52-yarder, the longer one, that would have been more or less acceptable because it's not a gimme field goal. But imagine if he misses one of those field goals. Now, the whole game looks different. So even though we would not like to depend on Cairo Santos for points, the fact that he came through 4 times today is huge. And without him, they don't win this game. Without him being as efficient as he was, they don't win this game. So a lot of times the kickers get kicked for sure. And they get all of the bad rap when they miss big field goals. But when they are solid in games like this, sometimes the appreciation for them can drop. But definitely need to give Cairo Santos his flowers here. The I would say the fourth thing was pretty obvious. We saw at the end of the game. Josh Blackwell coming off the edge to get that block is crazy. The block on what would have been the game-winning field goal. I don't even know if Carlson would have made that field goal because I felt like he was a little shaky on the field goal earlier, just barely inside the upright. And something about his body language didn't look super confident to me. So I don't know if that field goal would have made it or not. Nonetheless, it didn't matter. Josh Blackwell comes through with a huge block. The speed, the athleticism, the timing to get there on that is huge. That is a big-time special teams play. And it really bailed the special teams unit out because they had just surrendered that huge return that helped set the Raiders up for what would be relatively easy field goal range. So that was a huge play for the unit as well as for the entire team. So Josh Blackwell, huge play there. The last thing, and it's not the least important, it was just how I didn't add this to the list until I saw how the game actually finished. But I'm going to give this one the other of the last of the five best things that I saw today was Caleb Williams. And here's the thing. Was this a perfect performance by Caleb? No. There were some times where he still got a little bit of happy feet in the pocket. Maybe could have stayed in a little bit longer. There was some inaccurate throws, not as bad as we've seen before. There was a screen pass. I don't know who the hell he was throwing it to. And then there was the pass to Rome Odunze that was too high. If it was a little bit lower, that's probably a conversion. But those things are going to happen over the course of the game. He was also running for his life the entire game because nobody could block Max Crosby or anybody else coming off the Raiders defensive line. So all those things considered, I thought Caleb had a really solid pro NFL quarterback game. He guided his team down the field to get the game-winning touchdown on that last drive. That is what you want your quarterback to do. He made the throws he needed to make. And when it was time to lean on the run game, they were able to lean on the run game, get some big carries, and of course the big touchdown run at the end. So you want your quarterback to win football games. You want your quarterback to get you in positions to where he doesn't lose you games. You want him to put you in positions where sometimes he makes a play that, hey, not everybody can make this play. I thought Caleb Williams did that across the board today. Now, like I said, were there some tough points? Yes, there were. But good quarterbacks win games like this. And so I've come away from today more encouraged. The stat line's not going to blow you away today, but the number went in the right column. So Bears go to 2-2. Now, let's talk about the five worst things. Even though the Bears were able to rush for 45 yards in the second half of this game, which is not bad. Obviously, if you rush for 45 in both halves, you rush for 90 yards over the game. So that's pretty solid, right? But overall, if you think of it, they only ran for 69 yards in the game. So if 45 of those came in the second half, only had 24 rushing yards in the first half. So let me change that. So 45 of those rushing yards in the second half, that was what came from the running backs, not even counting what Caleb ran for in the second half. So that tells you even more how bad the first half rushing yards were, right? 45 yards from just the running backs. I think Caleb might have had 9 yards or something like that in the second half. So we're probably sitting on like 10 yards rushing or something like that in the first half. I have to go back and look at the numbers, but it was bad. It was bad. And it continues to be a bit of an issue. Thankfully, Caleb was able to make some plays in the passing game. They were able to utilize play action, which I don't even understand why play action was working as well as it was, considering the Bears had not established a run game. But they had begun to he made some plays in the passing game, and it was able to kind of hide how bad the run game was, especially in the first half. Bottom line, y'all, this run game has to get better. There's no other way around it. There's a couple different. I hear people saying they don't like Swift. I hear people saying that they like Monangai more. I hear some people even saying Bears need to go out and get a running back. I'm in the middle, and we'll talk about where we are with the run game in terms of the running back. But I will say this. I believe that most often when a team is struggling to run the ball, people look at the running back. But I don't think that's always, more than likely, it's usually offensive line play. It's usually no lanes there. Now, there are situations, and I thought that the CBS team did a really good job today of pointing out the situation with Ashton Jeanty. Well, yes, he's getting destroyed in the backfield sometimes, but all other times there are lanes and he's picking the wrong direction. Now, in order for us to really judge DeAndre Swift and to say that he's the problem, you have to look at all 22 footage and see that he is literally not hitting holes that are there. I don't think that that's the case. I believe that from what I have seen, and I've seen every play, every snap of all 4 games, not all 22 footage on all. I saw all 22 footage from week 1. And in week 1, DeAndre Swift did not have a lot of lanes to run. I'm believing that's kind of the way it is. That said, we'll get into Monangai because I do like him. But the run game overall, that's number 1 on my 5 worst things that I saw today. Number 2, and this is not in order of which one is worst or best, but the pre-snap penalties. Last week against the Cowboys, I felt like we kind of got away from that and we're moving in the right direction. This week we're right back. It was terrible, guys. I'm not gonna lie, and I'm not gonna lie at all. It was pretty freaking bad how many penalties that the Bears had. The Bears got penalized 8 times for 60 yards today. And because of that, see, it's that kind of number that starts to nullify the fact that you won the turnover game as easily as you won it. Like the Raiders had 4 turnovers, the Bears had 1. They were +3 in the take and plus minus on the takeaway. But because you have so many penalties, it starts to negate that advantage. And I think that that's really what we saw. So the penalties have got to be cleaned up. As I talked about earlier, Cole Kmet with a tight end with 2 false start penalties in the same game. Like, I don't know how often that's happened, but that's not something. Come on, something's not jibing there when you're seeing that. So, not to mention we had holding calls on plays. It was just those are not the pre-snap penalties, but those are just the penalties overall. The pre-snap penalties are especially an issue, but penalties in general are still a problem for the Bears. Got to clean that up. The third worst thing that I saw today was the run defense. Did we stiffen up in situations when we had to? Yes. But overall, we're talking about a Raiders team that had been like, I think, last or next to last in rushing for the entire season. Come out here today and put 240 on your head. That's not good. That's not it. That's not it, guys. That is absolutely not it. You cannot, very rarely, it's a wonder, to be totally honest. It is an absolute wonder that the Bears were able to win a game where they actually gave up 240 yards on the ground. Like, that's not normal. So the Raiders came in 31st in the league in rushing. They were averaging 72.3 yards per game on the ground. More than 3 times as much today against the Bears. Obviously, that's not a good thing. Run defense has to clean up for sure. If it doesn't clean up, this is going to be a long season because you're not going to have a quarterback like Geno who is essentially bailing you out by throwing 3 interceptions every game. So this is just, honestly, if we want to be truthful, this was not a well-played game, really, for both teams. You love to get the victory if you're the Bears, but this was not a well-played game for both teams. My next thing, this is my 4th thing that I thought was one of the worst things I saw today, is the tackle play. Now, I understand that Darnell Wright was hurt, and I get that. And I also understand how great of a player that Max Crosby is. But on several plays, the ease in which Max Crosby got into the backfield was just unbelievable. It was unbelievable. And I thought that we were better, honestly. I do think when Theo Bernadette was moved to the left side and Ozzy Trapillo, the rookie who finally got in the game, was moved to the right side, I thought they actually played better. I actually thought that they pass protected better at that point. But overall, the tackle play was troubling because the pressure off the edge from the Raiders, and I know that Max Crosby is a top 2-3 pass rusher in the game. I get it. But some more resistance than what we saw has to be given. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson didn't get in the backfield this much. And Aiden Hutchinson's a dog, for Detroit. So the tackle play to me left a lot to be desired, and there needs to be some cleanup there. I'm hoping that, honestly, man, I really, if it's me, I want to. I mean, Theo Bernadette didn't play bad at all. I shouldn't say at all. Early in the game, he was getting torched. Him getting moved over was a little bit better, but I don't know, man. I feel like you go Darnell Wright to go Trapillo, and you just continue to grow. You just continue to grow. Let the unit gel. Let that unit gel with Jonah Jackson, Tooney, Dahlman. Let them gel. I felt like Dahlman was playing better. He gave up some interior pressure early, but I thought he played one of his better games, except for that bad snap, of course, that went all the way back. I don't know whose fault that was. If that was Caleb's or his, you have to kind of get some additional commentary to find out whose fault that was. But I just think you go young on the edges, man. Go young on the edges. I don't think that Braxton is a swing tackle. I felt that way for probably the last year and a half. I know that it was a bit of a gem kind of a find to find a dude that late in the draft that can actually play and play as many NFL snaps as he's played. But in my opinion, ideally, he's a swing tackle. You drafted Ozzy Trapillo in the second round because you obviously thought a lot of him. You drafted Darnell Wright in the first round because you obviously thought a lot of him. Go with your young dogs on the edge, let them grow as a unit. And I think that's where you ultimately will get the best tackle play that you have available on your roster right now. This patchwork stuff with Bernadette and Braxton, I don't like it. Go with your young guys on the edge and let's just go. Let's just go. But tackle play was my fourth thing. My last thing was the pass rush, or the non-existent pass rush. The Bears, let me tell you, the Bears didn't just not sack Geno Smith today. They only had registered one QB hit. And that came from Jaquan freaking Brisker, a safety coming off the edge on a blitz. The front four never touched Geno Smith except to pat him on the shoulder to say nice game after it was over. Now, did the Bears win? Yes. Am I happy that they won? Yes. But this lack of pass rush, I don't know, man. Like, I heard somebody say, well, the Bears need to trade for a running back. And I'm like, okay, no, I don't really feel like is there a possibility to upgrade a running back? Maybe. But I'm looking at a decimated secondary because of injury. And Jalen's not coming back this year, more than likely. And I'm looking at a pass rush that is non-existent. And I know that finding pass rushers is not like it just grows on trees. But if I'm sinking anything, any draft capital, anything into an aspect of my team, of this Bears roster, I'm trying to figure out how we can get some pass rush and how I can get some depth at corner. That's what I'm trying to do. Because this pass rush is, I mean, the Bears, the Bears' lack of pass rush is one of the biggest problems. It is the biggest problem on defense. It is the biggest problem on defense. Penalties are the biggest problem on offense. A lack of a pass rush is the biggest problem on defense. And if they plan to do anything the rest of this season, that has to be addressed. And I don't think that suddenly Montez Sweat or Dio are going to start to get into the backfield with regularity. I don't think they have a guy on the roster right now who is going to effectively rush the passer the way they need to. So I hear a lot of people calling for Shamar Turner, the rookie out of South Carolina, I think it is. I mean, if we're expecting a rookie to drop in the interior line and suddenly massively boost our pass rush, I think we are tricking ourselves. That's not probably going to happen this year. Now, we'll see what happens with Austin Booker. I think he's available after the bye week. I don't have a ton of confidence that he's going to come in and move the needle in that direction too much. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I am. But if there is a move that needs to be made, guys, I think that move needs to be made to get a pass rusher or to get a to get some depth at corner. Get some depth at corner, because right now we are pretty freaking beat up there. Pretty beat up there. I mean, Tyreek went down for a second today. I almost cried. I was like, oh God, what's going to happen? And y'all know I had been really on Tyreek up to this point. So those are my 5 best, my 5 worst things. The thing I want to really hone in on is this run game, though. I really like Monangai. I really do. I really feel like, however imperfect this Bears offensive line is, it's something about his style. It is a no frills, not a lot of cutting kind of style. It's downhill, get it, smash forward. I really think that style is a better fit for this offensive line, for this team, for what this offense needs. I really do. Now, does that mean I want all of Swift's carries taken away? No. I think it's a game-to-game situation. I think there are some games that are going to be Monangai games. So I think there's going to be games where Monangai should get 16, 17 carries and Swift shouldn't get more than 8 or 9. I think there's going to be games where there's a 15-15 split and they're really just running the ball well and we're keeping her back fresh and so on and so forth in terms of carries. I think there's some games where DeAndre Swift maybe only gets the ball out of the backfield 5 or 6 times, but he gets thrown the ball 4 to 5 times. I just think that for the style of run, the style of team, the style of offense the Bears have right now, I think Monangai up the gut, left, right, off the edges here and there, I think his style best fits this team. And we'll see. We'll see. This game, he didn't get the ball as much as I hoped that he would get it. He had 4 rushes for 18 yards, though. He averaged 4.5 yards a carry, and he also had a nice run that ended up getting called back because of a penalty. And I don't even know, honestly, if I think it was on Jonah Jackson, was a hold on him. I felt like Monangai was going to get there without the hold. So, I mean, if you just look here, right? So this week, Monangai, 4 rushes for 18 yards, right? Last week against the Cowboys, he had a similar. He was headed for a similar game. He had a big run that got called back, so he ended up with six attempts for 16 yards. The Lions game is whatever it is, 7 rushes for 28 yards. He didn't even get a rush at all against the Vikings. So what I'm wanting to understand, and this is something I don't get from Ben Johnson, and I haven't questioned Ben a lot this year, but how is it that Monangai is getting less carries? 7 against Detroit, 6 against Dallas, and now 4 against the Raiders. And I thought we were going to see more of him. Instead, he's getting the ball less. I don't understand that. Someone needs to explain that to me. Why is Monangai getting less carries? What did he do that would justify him getting less carries? I don't know, but that's what we got. So that's all I got for you guys today. By all means, if you watch this later, drop a comment in there. I will come back and answer. Also, make sure you pay attention to the date that the video was posted. I had somebody come in here and say, what are you talking about, Caleb Williams? You must not have seen the last game. Well, when you watch that video, the last game hadn't happened yet, bro. So that's why that is. So make sure you pay attention to the date that the video was posted. But that's all I got for you guys today. I appreciate you watching. God bless. Peace.